You're tuning into the deep dive because you're the kind of person who wants to understand things deeply, to connect the dots without getting lost in, a sea of information.
Mm.
You want those aha moments,
Mhm.
those really satisfying clicks of understanding, and you want them efficiently.
Right.
Today, we're taking that approach to a truly fascinating intersection. The world of Houston artist Bob Camblin, where art, philosophy, and the ongoing adventure of self-discovery beautifully collide.
Exactly. You've brought us together to explore Camblin's unique vision through his artwork, specifically a drawing and coloring book, alongside, well, a rich collection of his personal quotes, biographical details, and reflections from those who knew him.
Mhm.
It's a remarkable opportunity, really, to see how these different facets illuminate each other.
And at the heart of this exploration is a drawing and coloring book. Picture this: a perfectly formed geometric pyramid standing starkly against a wild, untamed natural landscape.
Yeah, quite an image.
The contrast is immediate and powerful.
Right.
And the very title suggests we're not just observing something static, we're invited to participate, to engage.
That invitation to interact is absolutely key. And that initial visual of the pyramid in the wilderness, it's a potent image, just ripe with symbolism.
So true.
Our aim today is to really unpack those layers of meaning within Camblin's art and his insightful words. We want to connect them to some really fundamental ideas: the tranquility found in Zen philosophy, the spark of creativity, the journey towards self-awareness, and, Camblin's own distinctive lens on the world.
Okay, so let's dive right into a drawing and coloring book. That central image, the crisp geometry of the pyramid set against this unruly natural backdrop, feels incredibly intentional, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
What's the first layer of meaning you see there?
Well, what's immediately striking is that surreal juxtaposition. You have the pyramid, this universal symbol of order, structure, even spiritual, right?
Right?
And it's planted firmly within a realm of pure, untamed nature.
Right.
The idea that this pyramid acts almost as a gateway, a kind of portal to another way of seeing things, it really aligns with the surrealist art movement,
Well, okay.
which, drawing on dreams and the subconscious, often use geometric shapes to suggest hidden realities or alternative
A
dimensions.
portal.
Yeah.
That's a compelling way to think about it. On the outside, this dense, almost overgrown world, and inside the pyramid, we see still water reflecting a muting sky.
Yeah.
That stillness within the defined form is such a contrast to the wildness surrounding it.
Precisely. And this contrast, it speaks directly to a central tenet of Zen philosophy. The ability to find a sense of calm, of tranquility, even amidst the complexities and chaos of life.
Right.
That still water within the pyramid becomes a powerful metaphor for the tranquil core that exists within each of us, even when our minds feel as busy and overgrown as that rugged landscape. It's about finding that tranquil center of a chaotic mind.
And the fact that it's a coloring book, the act of adding color.
Mm-hmm.
The interpretation we have touches on that as a form of meditation. How does that work exactly?
Well, think of the act of coloring itself. One focused stroke at a time, bringing a sense of order and vibrancy to the image.
Okay.
It's a mindful engagement, really, with the present moment. The idea here is that by actively coloring this drawing, we're not just filling in lines, we're participating in a process that can bring a sense of harmony to what might initially feel overwhelming.
I see.
It's a tangible way to interact with the artwork and maybe with our own inner state, too.
Now, this connection to the I Ching, specifically hexagram 43 breakthrough, that was fascinating. For someone who might not be familiar, could you briefly explain the core idea of the I Ching and how this hexagram relates to the drawing?
Certainly. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese text, often called the Book of Changes, which uses a system of hexagrams, these 6-line figures, to offer insights into various situations in the flow of life.
Okay.
Hexagram 43, breakthrough, essentially signifies a decisive act of clearing away obstacles, of resolutely eliminating what is hindering progress. So when we look at the pyramid with its sharp, defined edges cutting through that tangled wilderness of the landscape,
Yeah.
it mirrors this idea of clarity breaking through confusion, of a necessary and decisive act to resolve a situation or overcome a blockage, whether it's internal or external.
And the open water inside the pyramid being described as a wellspring of potential that has a really hopeful feel to it. How does that tie in?
That image of open water within the structured form connects beautifully with the teachings of Lao Tzu, particularly his emphasis on the nature of water. Its flexibility, its adaptability, yet its immense power. The wellspring of potential reminds us that beneath the surface turbulence of life, there lies this deep reservoir of possibility. a capacity for flow and clarity. It suggests that by focusing our minds, like, stilling the water, we can access this inherent potential and find our way forward.
This is really resonating, that idea of a tranquil center of a chaotic mind and the wellspring of potential within. It's something we all strive for, I think.
Absolutely.
Then there's this idea of life as a self-portrait in the context of the artwork. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. Consider the pyramid with its defined structure and the reflective water inside. That could be seen as representing self-awareness, our ability to observe and understand ourselves.
Okay.
The chaotic exterior landscape, then, becomes a metaphor for the unexamined aspects of our lives, all the thoughts, emotions, experiences we haven't fully processed or integrated.
Right, the messy bits.
Exactly. So the invitation to color the drawing becomes the active process of creating our own self-portrait, consciously shaping our understanding and adding depth to our inner landscape.
I see.
This aligns pretty well with the principles of secular mindfulness, where we intentionally focus on the present moment to cultivate greater self-knowledge.
So it's not just passive observation, it's about active creation and understanding.
Precisely.
And then we have the idea of the artwork as an allegory for the creative process itself, with the pyramid as the central idea. How does that work?
Well, think of that pyramid as the core idea, the initial spark of creativity that needs to be nurtured.
Okay.
The wild landscape surrounding it represents all the competing thoughts, distractions, and external influences that can pull us in different directions. The act of coloring, then, becomes the focused exploration and development of that central idea within the structure and boundaries provided by the pyramid. It highlights that interesting dynamic between constraint and freedom that often fuels artistic expression, having a framework within which to explore endless possibilities.
Like having a defined canvas, but an infinite palette.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And ultimately, the artwork is presented as a metaphor for the journey of self-discovery itself.
Yes. The external chaos of the world will always be present. But the artwork suggests that within us lies the potential for clarity, focus, and understanding symbolized by the pyramid. It's not about escaping the challenges, but about recognizing that a sense of inner order and meaning can be found even within them. Engaging with the artwork through the act of coloring becomes a tangible way to bring order to our own internal chaos, and in doing so, to uncover personal meaning and insights on our own journey of self-discovery.
Now, those faint inscriptions, Full Moon and Paris, what do you make of those? They seem almost random additions.
Well, what's intriguing about these inscriptions is their enigmatic nature. They could be playful clues left by Camblin, a little wink to the viewer, inviting further contemplation, or perhaps they are personal references, notes that held specific meaning for him, adding another layer to the puzzle of the artwork.
Right.
They definitely contribute to the sense that there's a deeper narrative or personal history embedded within the image, encouraging us to look beyond the obvious.
And the contrast between the highly detailed landscape and the more subdued interior of the pyramid, that also feels like a deliberate choice, doesn't it?
Oh, it strongly suggests a shift in focus. The hyper-detailed banks of the landscape draw the eye and perhaps represent the busy, overwhelming nature of the external world, while the more understated interior of the pyramid invites introspection, a quieter space for imagination and reflection. It's as if Camblin is visually guiding us from the external to the internal, from complexity to a space for contemplation.
Okay, let's shift gears now and explore some of Bob Camblin's own words. We have this collection of quotes that offer such fascinating glimpses into his thinking. The first one, fortunately some things remain forever, or another 10 years perhaps. It has a real sense of the fleeting nature of things, doesn't it?
It really does.
What core insight about time or permanence do you take from that?
I think the core insight here is a wry acknowledgement of impermanence. Even those things we believe to be enduring are ultimately subject to the passage of time and change. It's a realistic, perhaps even slightly humorous perspective that reminds us not to take anything for granted. This idea of impermanence, it's a recurring theme in many philosophical traditions, connects with Buddhist concepts too, like non-attachment.
Then there's that haiku-like observation about the cottonwood trees. 3 cottonwood trees, dense cluster of new branches, now with them gone, look. It's so concise, yet it evokes such a strong sense of change and absence.
It really does.
What's the broader principle at play there?
The broader principle at play is the stark reality of change and loss and the power of absence to highlight what was once present. That simple word, look, at the end compels us to confront that void, to recognize the impact of what is no longer there. It speaks to our tendency to perhaps not fully appreciate things until they are gone, and the poignant lessons that absence can teach us about the cycles of life.
And this one, as they approached the memory of songs and music, stopped at the moment the texture of its decay became visible to them. Sad how we all aged at that moment in time. Salt Air Summer 1967. That's a really evocative connection between sensory experience, memory, and the awareness of aging.
It's incredibly evocative. What's the key takeaway about memory or time that stands out to you?
Well, the key takeaway here is the profound and often melancholic way in which our memories are intertwined with sensory details and the relentless march of time. The cessation of music coinciding with the visible decay creates this powerful, almost cinematic image of a shared moment of aging.
Yeah.
It highlights how specific sensory experiences can anchor our memories, and how the awareness of time passing can be triggered by seemingly small, perceptible changes. It really speaks to the fragility of memory and the shared human experience of aging. Now, this next one is intriguing. Look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both. What's the underlying connection he's suggesting between the scientific, the mystical, philosophy, and art?
It seems the underlying connection Camblin suggests is that both rational inquiry, looking into the atom,
Right, the science.
and intuitive exploration, magic, are paths to understanding our fundamental needs and the nature of reality. He sees philosophy as the intellectual framework that underpins both, while art serves as a way to express and explore these profound questions through a different lens.
Okay.
The core insight is that these seemingly disparate fields are actually interconnected in their pursuit of knowledge and meaning.
He also talks about sticking with common sense and the perfectly average view to appreciate miracles in both science and magic, hoping for a bright gray where they meet. What does this bright gray represent, this intersection of the ordinary and the extraordinary?
That bright gray, I think, represents a space of open-mindedness and wonder, where the logical and the intuitive can coexist and inform each other. By appreciating the miracles inherent in both the scientific and the seemingly magical aspects of the everyday, we move beyond rigid distinctions and open ourselves to a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world. It's about finding the extraordinary within the ordinary and recognizing the limitations of purely rational or purely mystical perspectives.
And the sixth sense being, without a doubt, senza dubio. For an artist, how crucial is that unwavering inner conviction?
Oh, for an artist, that sixth sense, that intuitive certainty about their work is absolutely vital. It's the internal compass that guides their creative decisions, even when they might not be logically explicable.
Right.
This unwavering belief in their vision, even in the absence of external validation, is often what drives artists to create truly original and impactful work. It really speaks to the power of self-trust in the creative process.
Then there's this quote with a real sense of longing. Bright day and I soar. How cruel that my soul's attached to this earth, and yet. What universal human experience do you think he's capturing here?
I think he's capturing that fundamental human yearning for transcendence, the feeling of being tethered to the physical world, while simultaneously feeling a pull towards something more, something beyond our earthly limitations. It's that inherent tension between our aspirations and our grounded reality, a feeling of restlessness or longing that I think many people experience.
Find something in nature that completes you and then surrender. There's a real sense of seeking harmony and letting go in that statement. How does that connect with his art, where nature often plays such a significant role?
Well, this quote directly reflects the deep connection to the natural world that's so evident in his artwork. The act of finding something in nature that resonates deeply within us suggests a search for wholeness and belonging. And the subsequent call to surrender echoes Zen principles of letting go of control and finding peace by aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life. It implies that nature holds a key to our own inner completion and a path to tranquility.
He also has this core artistic belief. The light is all you need. The end is to evolve by doing the best you can. The means is to amplify what you're doing and believe. What's the core message about the creative process that you glean from this?
The core message seems to be one of simplicity and focused intention. Light can be seen both literally as essential for visual art and metaphorically as inspiration and clarity.
Okay.
The emphasis on continuous evolution through dedicated effort, doing the best you can, combined with unwavering belief in one's work, amplify what you're doing and believe, provides a powerful and concise guide to maybe a fulfilling creative practice.
There's a more fragmented quote, too. In the balance, patience and yet. Freedom again and yet. In silence, the reality can be maintained. It touches on so many different states. What overarching insight do you see in this juxtaposition of balance, patience, freedom, and silence?
The overarching insight seems to be about the delicate interplay of these seemingly contrasting states in achieving a deeper understanding of reality. Balance and patience are essential for stability, right?
Right.
Yet there's also a need for freedom and the space to explore. Ultimately, it suggests that it's in the quietude of silence that a more profound and sustained connection to reality can be found, suggesting an inner equilibrium achieved through navigating these different aspects of being.
And the evolution of art's purpose he mentions, from art for art's sake to art for life's sake, or art for my sake, or art for survival's sake, that reflects a really significant shift in how artists view their role, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
What's the broader implication of this shift in artistic motivation?
Well, the broader implication is a move away from a purely aesthetic or detached justification for art towards a more deeply personal and engaged understanding of its purpose. It suggests a growing awareness that art can and should be relevant to our lives, addressing personal needs, contributing to our well-being, and even serving as a means of navigating the challenges of existence. This reflects a more integrated view of art within the human experience.
This next one really jumps out. Step off the train of thought. To find the power that is no power, to do the work that is not work, to laugh the true laugh. That sounds like a direct instruction for accessing a different kind of creativity and joy, almost like the Zen practice of emptying the mind.
That's a very astute observation.
Yes, so could you elaborate on that connection?
This quote strongly resonates with Zen practices that emphasize detaching from the constant stream of discursive thought to access a deeper, more intuitive level of being. By stepping off the train of thought, we can bypass the limitations of our analytical mind and tap into a power that is no power, a more effortless and natural form of creativity. The work that is not work suggests that state of flow where creation becomes effortless, and the true laugh hints at a joy that arises from a place of genuine presence, unburdened by mental clutter.
And then the simple yet profound, bending is not bowing, suggesting a way to navigate pressure without losing your integrity. What's the key insight about resilience there?
I think the key insight is about the distinction between flexibility and submission. Bending implies the ability to adapt and yield to external pressures without breaking,
Right.
while bowing suggests a complete surrender of one's own will or principles. It's a powerful metaphor for maintaining resilience and navigating challenges by being adaptable without compromising your core values.
The quote about balancing opposing forces, balancing and being for and against, followed by the fleeting regret of missing the clouds and then the mind's sudden clarity. It's such a whirlwind of internal experience. What does this suggest about the nature of thought and clarity?
It beautifully illustrates the dynamic and often contradictory nature of our thoughts and emotions. The initial feeling of being pulled in opposite directions and the subsequent regret of distraction give way to a sudden, almost visceral moment of clarity, lightning ripped out in flashes.
Yeah.
This suggests that even amidst internal conflict and fleeting regrets, the mind has the capacity for sudden insight and a return to a state of clear focus, like reaching that still pond after a storm.
He also has these seemingly contradictory instructions. When you think, don't act. When you act, don't think. What's the wisdom in that separation of mental states?
The wisdom, I think, lies in the importance of being fully present in whatever we are doing. When engaged in thought, we should allow ourselves to explore ideas deeply without the immediate pressure to act. Conversely, when taking action, we should be fully immersed in the doing, relying on instinct and present moment awareness rather than being hindered by overthinking. It's about cultivating a focused and undivided attention in each state.
The anecdote of the person who listened to talk of changing the world but only had enough for coffee. It's a very grounded observation. What does it highlight about the relationship between ideals and practical realities?
It poignantly highlights the potential disconnect between grand, abstract ideals and the concrete realities of everyday life. It serves as a gentle reminder, perhaps, that even the most ambitious visions need to be grounded in practical considerations, and that sometimes our immediate circumstances can limit our ability to engage with larger aspirations.
And Camblin's sensory experience of nature is a cosmic connection. The cosmos waves at me with tree leaves. It beautifully illustrates his deep engagement with the natural world, which we see reflected in his art.
It really does.
What's the key takeaway about our relationship with nature here?
The key takeaway is a sense of profound interconnectedness. It moves beyond a purely observational stance towards nature to suggest a deep, almost mystical relationship where the natural world isn't separate from us, but actively communicating and interacting with us on a fundamental level. It's a reminder to be open to the subtle ways in which nature can resonate with our inner experience.
The three acts on the tower, the white mountains, the cold wind, the lightning, followed by leaving before the show ends. That feels symbolic of a particular way of engaging with experience. What does it suggest to you?
Well, the three powerful natural elements create a sense of drama and intensity.
Yeah.
Leaving before the conclusion suggests a possible detachment, maybe a refusal to adhere to conventional expectations of completion, or perhaps a desire to retain a specific impression without the need for resolution. It could also reflect an independent spirit, a unique way of processing experiences on his own terms.
And the rain-soaked willows bringing him to my senses. It's another strong image of nature's grounding influence.
Very strong.
What does this tell us about the power of sensory experience in the natural world?
It underscores the immediate and visceral power of sensory experience in the natural world to bring us back to a state of presence and awareness. The feeling of the rain, the sight of the willows, these direct encounters can cut through mental clutter and ground us in the here and now, offering a pathway to clarity and a deeper connection with our surroundings.
There's so many of these little gems. Not a leaf moves, and yet we all feel the cool breeze. That suggests a subtle awareness, a sensitivity to something beyond the immediately obvious. What's the insight there?
The insight is about paying attention to the subtle energies and shifts in our environment, the things that might not be visually apparent, but are nonetheless perceptible on a deeper level. It speaks to a heightened sensitivity and an awareness that goes beyond surface appearances.
And his preference for looking at his watercolor palette over arguing. That feels like a retreat into the tangible and creative as a form of peace.
Definitely.
What does that tell us about the value he placed on art making?
It highlights the profound value and solace he found in the act of creation and the sensory experience of art. Faced with the potential for conflict, he chooses instead to immerse himself in the colors and textures of his palette, suggesting that art provides a more meaningful and peaceful engagement with the world than, say, unproductive debate.
Even his definitions of white and black in relation to how people are seen. White is light, black is absence of light. But people are seen offer a layer of social commentary beyond the literal. What do you see in that?
It's a concise yet powerful observation on the difference between literal definitions and social perception. While white and black have objective definitions related to light, the way we see people is often shaped by social constructs, biases, and interpretations that go far beyond these simple physical properties. It subtly points to the complexities of human perception and categorization.
And the direct address to Mother Nature. Well, that's enough about me, Mother Nature. Let's talk about you. What'd you think of my last picture? Blurs the lines between creator and creation in such a charming way.
It is charming, isn't it?
What does it reveal about his relationship with the natural world?
It reveals a deeply personal and almost conversational relationship with nature, where the natural world isn't just a subject to be depicted, but an active participant, almost a collaborator or audience for his work. It suggests a profound respect and connection, blurring the boundaries between the artist and the source of their inspiration.
We have this list of 5 thoughts crashed, seemingly random images and ideas jumbled together. What does this glimpse into the stream of consciousness tell us about the creative mind?
It offers a raw and unfiltered look at the spontaneous and often nonlinear nature of thought within the creative mind. It suggests that inspiration can come from unexpected juxtapositions and fleeting connections between seemingly disparate elements. It's a reminder that the creative process often involves embracing this kind of free association.
And his contrasting ways to end an argument with a pessimist and an optimist. It's a humorous but insightful look at managing different perspectives. What's the core wisdom there?
The core wisdom, I think, lies in recognizing and adapting to different personality types and their inherent biases. It suggests that effective communication and conflict resolution require understanding the other person's perspective and tailoring our approach accordingly, rather than trying to impose a single solution.
Then we get into these more poetic, almost dreamlike fragments like darning needles sew shimmerline tapestries of blue, green, and white bands, or bleached, textured, and white, to taste and sight, pray ever avoid the lamp fate. These are so rich in sensory detail and mystery.
They really are.
What do they evoke for you?
These fragments showcase the beautiful intersection of his artistic and poetic sensibilities. They evoke vivid sensory experiences and a sense of underlying narrative or symbolic meaning, inviting the listener to engage their own imagination and create their own interpretations. They're like miniature poems or evocative sketches that capture a fleeting moment or a deeper feeling. And that warning in the second quote, avoid the lamp fate, adds a layer of intrigue and potential metaphor.
And then we have these enigmatic pairings. Eater of Christians, Chimero Byzantium warm, cold children's chair, or San Gimignano, calamari to oblivion, strange ways of magic. They're so unexpected and thought-provoking. What's the effect of these unusual juxtapositions?
Well, the effect of these unusual juxtapositions is to jolt us out of conventional thinking and to force connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. They spark curiosity, challenge our assumptions, and open up possibilities for new interpretations and understandings. It's a way of creating a sense of wonder and prompting us to explore the less obvious relationships between things.
The fleeting image of the fragile grayed lady, now tiptoe, now skirts high, sidewise, hasty retreat, feels like a captured moment, a tiny, unfolding story. What's the power of such a concise narrative?
The power lies in its ability to evoke a strong sense of atmosphere and narrative with minimal detail. It allows the listener to fill in the blanks, to imagine the context, the emotions, and the reasons behind that hasty retreat. It's a testament to the power of suggestion and the ability of a brief image to spark a larger story in our minds.
And the soundscape of chuck, chuck, water tongue, chuck, chuck, sound of foot to stone. This marble island. It really immerses us in a specific sensory experience. How does the focus on sound contribute to the overall impact?
The focus on sound creates a very immediate and visceral connection to a particular place and moment. The repetition of the chalk sound, combined with the description of foot to stone and marble island, grounds us in a specific auditory and tactile experience, making the scene feel more real and tangible. It highlights the importance of sound in shaping our perception of a place.
The imagery of Icarus appears a few times. Fall, wax and feathers, flowers of burning petals, raw Icarus. And off the shore, fragments of a memory are found, bones of Icarus. It suggests a recurring fascination with themes of ambition and its potential consequences.
Yes, it does seem to recur.
What's the enduring significance of this myth for Camblin, do you think?
Well, the myth of Icarus, with its powerful themes of aspiration, overreaching ambition, and tragic downfall, seems to have held a significant resonance for Camblin. It could symbolize the inherent risks in pushing boundaries, the fragility of our endeavors, or perhaps even the allure and danger of striving for the impossible. The recurring imagery suggests a deep contemplation of these universal human themes.
There's also this direct address and invitation. Oh, sandpiper, why do you dance at ocean's edge? Come, the water's fine. It's such a charming and welcoming gesture.
It is, isn't it?
What does it reveal about his perspective on the natural world and perhaps even human experience?
It reveals a sense of kinship with nature, a gentle curiosity about the creatures around him, and a hopeful invitation to step outside one's comfort zone and embrace new possibilities. The question posed to the sandpiper suggests a desire to understand its behavior, while the invitation implies a belief in the potential for positive experiences if we dare to venture into the unknown.
We see vivid depictions of nature. Some are great black waves one sees so seldom clearly. Oh, men pulling nets, or green rocks, blue water, bright-colored Tiberians, Baccato, Capretti. They're like snapshots of moments he observed.
Little vignettes.
What do these brief glimpses tell us about his way of seeing the world?
These brief glimpses reveal a keen eye for detail and a deep appreciation for the beauty and drama of the natural world. They show his ability to capture a specific moment with vivid sensory language, almost like a visual artist sketching a scene. The inclusion of human activity, men pulling nets, and even those Italian exclamations adds a layer of personal observation and engagement with his surroundings.
And then we get these very personal reflections, like first child, glory be, 7 years deprived, my dear, for economy, or, this strange mirror-bright face cupped between my hands makes me seem so young. These offer a more intimate and vulnerable glimpse into his life and emotions.
Yes, they do.
What's the value of these personal moments within the larger collection?
These personal reflections provide a crucial human dimension to his artistic and philosophical musings. They remind us that behind the art and the ideas is a person with their own joys, sorrows, and experiences. These glimpses of vulnerability and personal history allow us to connect with Camblin on a deeper level and to see how his life experiences may have shaped his creative vision.
The contrast between white magic, white lies, thoughts of twisted limbs in mind. The hidden fear scene is quite stark and unsettling. What kind of inner turmoil or observation about human nature might this reflect?
This stark contrast likely reflects an awareness of the duality within human nature and perhaps a struggle with inner anxieties or the darker aspects of human behavior. The juxtaposition of seemingly innocent concepts like white magic with disturbing imagery suggests a recognition that things are not always as they appear and that hidden fears and negative thoughts can lurk beneath the surface.
And the simple yet profound, this egg in brown leaves, has a great secret of mine, that nothing changes. That has a very Zen-like feeling about the underlying constancy amidst the flux of life. What's the core of that thought?
The core of that thought is the recognition of an underlying, unchanging essence amidst the constant flux of the phenomenal world. The egg, a symbol of potential and new beginnings, is juxtaposed with the seemingly contradictory idea that nothing changes. This suggests a deeper truth about the cyclical nature of life and the enduring principles that remain constant despite surface-level transformations.
The imaginative statement, this dragon never lived on paper or flowers. Well, perhaps next time has a playful and hopeful quality. What does it say about the nature of imagination and the ongoing potential for creation?
It speaks to the boundless nature of imagination and the ongoing possibility of bringing imagined things into being. Even if an idea doesn't fully materialize in one instance, there's always the hope and potential for future creation. It reflects a playful acceptance of ideas that may remain in the realm of the imaginary and an optimistic outlook on the creative process.
Even the seasonal transitions, he notes. Weeds of last year crowd, shaking with lavender, spring winds are just the first sign, feel imbued with a deeper meaning about cycles and change.
Yes, definitely.
What do you take from that observation?
This observation connects the natural cycle of the seasons with the anticipation of change and renewal. The lingering presence of the old, weeds of last year, alongside the first hints of the new, spring winds, creates a sense of transition and the cyclical nature of life, where endings inevitably lead to new beginnings.
The question of agency, seed pod, dragonfly, shriveled weed or living thing, stirred by wind or God, is quite fundamental, isn't it?
Very fundamental.
What's the enduring question about existence that he's touching upon here?
He's touching upon the age-old philosophical question of determinism versus free will, of the forces that shape our existence and whether our actions are ultimately governed by external factors, wind or God, or by our own agency. It's a contemplation of the extent to which we are in control of our own destinies.
We see unexpected beauty in Blue Bottle Banquet. From the sea in summer come tide-washed necklaces. What does this suggest about finding beauty in the ordinary or unexpected?
It suggests a capacity to find beauty and value in the overlooked and discarded. The Blue Bottle Banquet and tide-washed necklaces transform ordinary objects into something precious through the act of observation and imaginative description. It's a reminder that beauty can be found in unexpected places if we have the eyes to see it.
And then there's the melancholic, purple canals, golden palazzi. The rain muffles her crying. It evokes a sense of faded grandeur and underlying sadness. What emotions or observations might this be capturing?
It captures a sense of faded beauty and a poignant undercurrent of sadness. The once vibrant golden palazzi are now seen through the lens of purple canals and muted by the rain, suggesting a loss of former glory. The muffled crying adds a layer of human emotion, hinting at a hidden sorrow beneath the surface beauty.
The reflection on memory? On Longboat, memory of summer walks, I hear this is gone, touches on the ephemeral nature of the past and how it can slip away. What's the core feeling conveyed here?
The core feeling conveyed is one of wistful nostalgia and the recognition of the transient nature of memories. The image of a long boat journeying with a fading memory suggests the passage of time and the eventual loss of even cherished experiences. There's a sense of both appreciation for the past and a gentle acceptance of its impermanence.
Even his comment on perception, the painted eye sees more than mine and God damn it, I see nothing yet, is so self-aware and questioning.
It really is.
What does this reveal about his artistic process and his understanding of seeing?
It reveals a humility and a constant striving for depth perception within his artistic process. The painted eye likely refers to the power of art to reveal truths that he himself hasn't yet grasped. The frustration in "God damn it, I see nothing yet" underscores the ongoing nature of learning and the challenges of truly seeing and understanding the world.
He imagines a strange device whirled by a figure of my mind, a beautiful dance, celebrating the power of inner vision and imagination. What's the significance of this kind of internal creation?
This celebrates the power and beauty that can arise from the inner world of the mind. It highlights the capacity for imagination to create intricate and dynamic forms independent of external reality. It underscores the importance of the internal landscape as a source of creativity and wonder.
And then we have the humorous gargoyles gargling water from Gothic churches. You missed me that time. It's a playful personification of the inanimate. What's the effect of this kind of whimsical observation?
The whimsical personification brings a sense of lightness and humor to the observation, making the inanimate seem alive and engaged in a playful act. It demonstrates a way of seeing the world with a sense of wonder and finding amusement in unexpected details.
Even fragmented memories like, off the shore, fragments of a memory are found. Bones of Icarus can be so powerful in their incompleteness. What do these kinds of fragmented images evoke?
These kinds of fragmented images evoke a sense of mystery and invite the imagination to piece together the missing narrative. The Bones of Icarus fragment carries the weight of the entire myth, suggesting themes of ambition and loss with just a few evocative words. The incompleteness can often be more potent than a fully explained story, allowing for personal interpretation and emotional resonance.
The sensory detail of hammock facing west, fingers knit to block the sun become burning twigs, is so vivid. What's the power of such close observation?
The power of such close observation lies in its ability to ground us in a specific moment and create a tangible sensory experience for the listener. The transformation of fingers into burning twigs through the blocked sunlight is a striking and memorable image that highlights the intensity of the physical sensation.
He compares nostalgia to guests, and fish shouldn't be kept too long, and talks about the purpose of dredging memory. It's a practical and somewhat cautionary view of the past. What's the core message about memory here?
The core message is about the appropriate role of memory in our lives. While acknowledging its value, he cautions against dwelling on the past for too long, comparing it to guests or fish that become unpleasant if they overstay their welcome.
Right.
The act of dredging memory suggests a deliberate effort to extract what is valuable or insightful, but with the understanding that the past should ultimately serve the present and future, not hold us captive.
He declares the artist today as the only free agent, not committed except by desire. That speaks to a certain independence and self-determination. What's the significance of this perceived freedom for the contemporary artist?
Well, the significance of this perceived freedom lies in the potential for greater authenticity and originality. Without the constraints of traditional patronage or rigid societal expectations, the contemporary artist has the autonomy to pursue their own vision and explore unconventional paths, driven solely by their own internal desires and creative impulses. This freedom, however, also comes with the responsibility of self-direction and finding one's own purpose.
And the idea of potentially moving towards a participatory type of art. That's an interesting thought. What are the potential implications of art becoming more interactive?
The potential implications of more participatory art include a blurring of the lines between artist and audience, a greater sense of shared ownership and meaning-making, and the creation of more dynamic and engaging art experiences. It could lead to art that is more directly relevant to and reflective of the communities it serves, fostering a deeper connection between creators and viewers.
He equates religion with belief, and then extends that to art. If I believe it's art, then it is. That raises fundamental questions about the nature of art and subjectivity.
It really does.
What's the core issue he's grappling with here?
The core issue he's grappling with is the subjective nature of art and the role of intention and belief in its definition. By drawing a parallel to religion, where faith is central, he suggests that the artist's conviction and the viewer's belief can be powerful factors in determining what constitutes art. This challenges more traditional objective definitions of art and highlights the importance of individual interpretation.
The concept of resist and submit, held in perfect balance, illustrated by the figure 4 trap. That's a fascinating metaphor for the push and pull of life. What broader dynamics do you think this analogy captures?
This analogy captures the dynamic interplay of opposing forces in many aspects of life, the tension between asserting oneself and yielding to circumstances, between control and surrender. The figure 4 trap, with its cycles of being caught and escaping, represents the ongoing negotiation between these forces. It suggests that true strength and resilience often lie in finding a balance between resistance and acceptance.
He warns against the demon of being right and emphasizes flow and present moment awareness, again echoing step off the train of thought. It's a recurring theme about overcoming mental obstacles.
Yes, it comes up again and again.
What's the central message about the mind he's conveying?
The central message is about the limitations of a rigid, ego-driven need to always be correct, and the importance of cultivating a more fluid and present-focused state of mind. By stepping off the train of thought, we can let go of the need for control and tap into a more intuitive and creative flow, free from the constraints of our ego and the constant chatter of the mind.
There's a comment about historians loving artistic madness when it's safely in the past. That's a bit of a cynical observation on how unconventionality is often viewed. What's the underlying critique there?
The underlying critique is directed at the way society often romanticizes or celebrates artistic eccentricity only after it has been safely historicized, and poses no real challenge to prevailing norms. It suggests a certain discomfort with truly radical or unconventional ideas in the present moment.
He talks about training ourselves to open rather than close the circuits of perception. That feels like a call for greater awareness and receptivity. What are the potential benefits of cultivating this openness?
The potential benefits of cultivating this openness include a richer and more nuanced understanding of the world around us, a greater capacity for empathy and connection with others, and enhanced creativity and problem-solving abilities. By resisting the tendency to filter out information or cling to preconceived notions, we allow ourselves to experience life more fully and to discover new possibilities.
The distinction between believing and knowing, with mystics having a direct experience beyond logic that touches on the limitations of purely rational understanding. What's the value he sees in that direct, intuitive knowing?
The value he sees in that direct intuitive knowing is access to a deeper level of truth and understanding that goes beyond the limitations of logic and intellectual analysis. It suggests that there are certain realities that can only be apprehended through direct experience and intuition, offering a more holistic and profound comprehension of the world and our place within it.
He connects believability and creativity in history, and how awareness, familiarity, and creativity impact our understanding. It's about the stories we tell ourselves about the past. What's the implication here about the nature of historical truth?
The implication is that historical truth isn't simply a collection of objective facts, but it's also shaped by our awareness, our familiarity with the subject matter, and our creative interpretation. The stories we tell ourselves about the past are constructed through these lenses, highlighting the subjective element in our understanding of history.
Cynicism is seen as a destructive form of creativity rooted in ego. That's a strong statement. What's the basis for this negative view of cynicism in relation to creativity?
The basis for this negative view likely stems from the idea that cynicism, often fueled by a sense of superiority or disillusionment, tends to be dismissive and critical rather than constructive or generative.
Right.
Rooted in ego, it can stifle the open-mindedness and vulnerability necessary for true creative exploration. Instead of building or envisioning, cynicism often seeks to tear down or negate.
He talks about losing magic and fully understanding everything versus intuitively knowing. What does this suggest about the importance of mystery and the limits of rational explanation?
It suggests that there is a certain wonder and enchantment that can be lost when we try to fully dissect and explain everything through purely rational means. The intuitive knowing implies a deeper, more holistic understanding that embraces the unknown and allows for a sense of mystery and awe, which can be vital for inspiration and a richer experience of life.
The metaphor of pushing up slowly like a tree emphasizes effort of will and the accumulation of small things over time. What's the key message about achieving goals or growth here?
The key message is about the importance of perseverance, consistent effort, and the understanding that significant growth or achievement often results from the accumulation of small, persistent actions over time. Like a tree slowly but surely reaching towards the light, our own progress requires dedication and the patient acceptance of gradual development.
Draw, teach, search, reveal is always framed in paradox. What's the significance of this cyclical and perhaps contradictory nature of the artistic and pedagogical processes?
The significance lies in highlighting the interconnected and often paradoxical nature of these activities. Drawing can be a form of searching and revealing. Teaching involves both revealing and prompting further searching, and the act of searching often leads to new things to draw and teach. The paradox suggests a dynamic and ongoing process where each element informs and influences the others, preventing any one aspect from becoming stagnant.
He advocates for a return to a naive approach to art, unburdened by history and criticism. That's a bold stance. What's the potential value in this kind of artistic innocence?
The potential value lies in fostering greater originality and a more direct connection to one's own creative impulses, free from the self-consciousness or inhibitions that can come with being overly aware of art history and critical expectations. This naive approach can lead to fresh perspectives and a more authentic form of expression.
The analogy of a critic as a legless man teaching running is quite cutting.
It is rather sharp.
What's the core of his critique of art criticism here?
The core of his critique is the potential disconnect between theoretical analysis and the practical act of creation. It suggests that those who analyze and judge art may not necessarily have the direct experience or understanding of the creative process itself, implying that their pronouncements might lack a certain practical grounding or empathy for the artist's endeavor.
He notes the innate human need to make marks, even before weapons, connecting it to childhood enjoyment and nonverbal communication. What does this suggest about the fundamental role of art in human experience?
It suggests that art, in its most basic form of mark-making, is a fundamental human impulse, predating even tools for survival. It highlights its role as a primal form of expression, communication, and exploration, connecting us to our earliest experiences and serving as a nonverbal language that transcends cultural and linguistic barriers.
Intention, when forced, leads to quantity over quality. That's a valuable reminder for any creative endeavor. What's the key insight about the creative process and motivation here?
The key insight is that genuine creative output is often driven by intrinsic motivation and a genuine desire to explore or express something, rather than by external pressure or the forced pursuit of a particular outcome. When intention is forced, the focus shifts to mere production, often at the expense of depth, authenticity, and quality.
He sees artists helping historians find meaning, like adults helping children find Easter eggs. It's an interesting perspective on the role of art in historical understanding. What unique contribution can art offer to our understanding of the past?
Art can offer a unique and often more visceral or emotional understanding of the past that goes beyond factual accounts. It can capture the spirit, the feelings, and the subjective experiences of a particular time in a way that historical documents alone might not.
Right.
Artists, like those helping children find Easter eggs, can point to hidden meanings, offer fresh perspectives, and make the past feel more alive and relatable.
Facility is likened to the Midas touch, potentially turning everything into something less valuable. What's the danger he sees in relying too much on technical skill without deeper substance?
The danger he sees is that an over-reliance on technical skill, facility, without a strong underlying concept or emotional depth, can lead to work that is technically proficient, but ultimately lacks meaning or impact. Like the Midas touch, which turned everything to gold but rendered it useless, excessive facility can prioritize surface-level execution over genuine artistic substance.
He suggests a correlation between the emptiness of some art and the efforts of critics and historians to fill it with interpretation. That's a provocative thought. What does it imply about the nature of artistic merit and interpretation?
It implies that sometimes the value or significance attributed to a work of art might not reside inherently within the work itself, but rather in the intellectual frameworks and interpretations imposed upon it by critics and historians. It raises questions about whether the emperor has no clothes, so to speak, and whether the meaning we find is truly present or largely constructed.
The visual arts have finally become non-visual. That's a very abstract statement. What do you think he means by that?
He likely means that in contemporary visual arts, conceptual ideas and intellectual frameworks have often taken precedence over the purely visual or sensory experience of the artwork. The art may reside more in the idea or the discourse surrounding it than in the visual object itself.
Zazen is defined as the aimless mind focusing itself. That's a concise description of a complex practice. What's the key insight about the nature of focus and the mind in this definition?
The key insight is the paradoxical nature of true focus. It's not about forcing the mind to concentrate on a specific object, but rather allowing the mind to settle and become still, without any particular aim or intention. In this state of aimless attention, the mind naturally becomes more focused and receptive.
He urges playing the game of drawing without fear or doubt. What's the importance of this playful and uninhibited approach to creative work?
The importance lies in fostering experimentation, discovery, and a release from self-criticism. By approaching drawing as a game, we can lower the stakes and allow ourselves to explore freely without the pressure of perfection or judgment. This playful attitude can often lead to unexpected breakthroughs and more authentic expression.
He differentiates between action experiment drawings, slow analytic drawings, and conceptual drawings, all as valid forms of discovery. What does this categorization tell us about the diverse purposes of drawing in his practice?
This categorization highlights the multifaceted role of drawing in his artistic process. It's not just about creating a finished product, it's also a tool for immediate exploration and experimentation, for careful observation and analysis, and for the development and communication of conceptual ideas. Each type of drawing serves a different purpose in the journey of artistic discovery.
Again, the emphasis on drawing and concept as nonverbal communication is reiterated. What's the core idea about the power of visual language that he keeps returning to?
The core idea is that drawing and artistic concepts can convey meaning, ideas, and emotions in ways that transcend the limitations of spoken or written language. Visual language operates on a different level, often accessing intuitive understanding and communicating across cultural and linguistic barriers.
Words are natural in a haiku, but the reaction is more. That unfinished sentence speaks volumes about the power of concise expression. What's the key takeaway about haiku's impact?
The key takeaway is the power of haiku to evoke a profound emotional or intellectual response through its brevity and evocative imagery. The suggestion that the reaction is more than just the words themselves highlights the way haiku can resonate deeply with the reader, prompting a feeling or insight that goes beyond the literal meaning of the poem.
One must find his own mystic switch, a visceral indicator of truth that can change. That's a very personal and evolving compass for navigating the world. What's the significance of this internal shifting sense of truth?
The significance lies in recognizing the subjective and evolving nature of our understanding and beliefs. The mystic switch represents an intuitive, deeply felt sense of what resonates as true for each individual, and the fact that it can change acknowledges the dynamic nature of our experiences and our evolving perspectives. It emphasizes the importance of tuning into our own inner guidance.
He advocates learning to fail, relax, feel, and really think as the paradoxical path to success. It's a holistic and perhaps counterintuitive approach. What's the wisdom in embracing failure and feeling as part of the thinking process?
The wisdom lies in recognizing that failure is an essential part of learning and growth. Relaxation allows for greater clarity and creativity, and feeling provides valuable intuitive information that can enrich our thinking. By embracing these seemingly opposing states, we move beyond a purely linear analytical approach to problem solving and tap into a more holistic and effective way of navigating challenges and achieving success.
I didn't learn anything new, but I know a lot more now. That's a beautiful summary of a shift in understanding that comes from deeper reflection rather than new information. What does this kind of knowing entail?
This kind of knowing entails a deeper, more experiential understanding that comes from internalizing and connecting existing information in new ways. It's about gaining a richer, more nuanced perspective through reflection and insight, rather than simply acquiring new facts. It's a qualitative shift in comprehension.
We have nothing to fear but ourselves, and the Zen concept of always being the Buddha but often forgetting. That connects the source of our limitations with our inherent potential. How do these ideas intertwine?
They intertwine by suggesting that our primary obstacles and limitations are often self-imposed, stemming from our own fears, doubts, and misconceptions. The Zen concept reminds us that we all possess an inherent potential for enlightenment or wisdom, always being the Buddha. But we often fail to recognize or access it due to these self-created limitations, often forgetting. Overcoming our internal fears and recognizing our innate potential are key to unlocking this deeper understanding.
Mirrors are not magic, they just seem to be. And everyone is a mirror, and that is magic. It's a thought-provoking idea about interconnectedness and reflection. What's the deeper meaning you see in this?
The deeper meaning lies in recognizing the profound interconnectedness of all things. While a physical mirror simply reflects an image, the idea that everyone is a mirror suggests that we reflect each other's thoughts, emotions, and experiences in subtle and profound ways. This constant interplay of reflection and influence, though not supernatural, is presented as a kind of magic, a wondrous and often unseen force that shapes our reality.
The jump, the fish doesn't know water and the bird doesn't know air, highlights inherent existence beyond conscious awareness. What's the significance of recognizing these fundamental, often unnoticed aspects of our being?
The significance lies in prompting us to consider the aspects of our existence that are so fundamental and all-encompassing that we may not even be consciously aware of them. Just as a fish takes water for granted, or a bird the air, we may overlook the very conditions that make our lives possible. Recognizing these inherent aspects can lead to a deeper appreciation for life and a shift in perspective on what truly matters.
He differentiates between negative magic for power and positive magic for seeing, with magic seeing leading to deeper understanding and art tied to the endless part of life. That gives art a really profound purpose.
It really does.
How does this magic seeing connect with the role of the artist?
This magic seeing connects with the role of the artist as someone who can perceive and reveal these deeper truths and connections that might be invisible to others. By cultivating this way of seeing, the artist can create work that transcends the ephemeral and taps into something more enduring and meaningful, connecting with the endless sport of life through deeper understanding.
Real seeing is deceptive. A whirlpool of relationships. It's about the complexity of perception. What does this suggest about the challenge of truly understanding the world around us?
It suggests that our perception of reality isn't a simple, straightforward process, but rather a complex and dynamic interaction of relationships and influences. What we see is shaped by our individual perspectives, our past experiences, and the interconnectedness of everything around us. This complexity makes truly understanding the world a continuous and often challenging endeavor, requiring us to look beyond surface appearances.
Art is the partial retention in the context of this complex seeing. It acknowledges the selective nature of artistic expression. What does this imply about the artist's role in shaping our understanding?
It implies that the artist, in the act of creation, isn't offering a complete or objective representation of reality, but rather a selective capturing and highlighting of certain aspects. This partial retention inevitably shapes our understanding, as the artist's choices direct our attention and frame our perception of the subject matter.
The simple directive, fool the eye, fool the mind. That speaks to the power of illusion and conceptual play in art. What's the purpose of this kind of artistic deception?
The purpose is to engage the viewer on multiple levels. Fooling the eye involves creating visual illusions that challenge our perception, while fooling the mind involves prompting conceptual shifts and questioning our assumptions. This artistic deception can be a powerful tool for making us see the world in new ways and for exploring the boundaries between reality and illusion.
The dilemma of the artist balancing personal technique with societal demand for novelty in a disposable art culture. That's a very contemporary challenge.
Oh, very much so.
What are the pressures and potential pitfalls of this situation?
The pressures include the need to constantly innovate and produce new work to maintain relevance in a fast-paced art market, which can sometimes compromise the development of a personal artistic voice and lead to a focus on fleeting trends rather than enduring substance. The potential pitfalls include artistic burnout, a sense of alienation from one's own creative impulses, and the creation of work that lacks depth in the pursuit of novelty.
He notes the unfortunate popularization of the yin and yang mandala symbol, perhaps losing its deeper meaning through overuse. What's the risk when profound symbols become commonplace?
The risk is that through overuse and a lack of understanding of their original context, profound symbols can become stripped of their deeper meaning and reduced to mere aesthetic cliches. Their power to evoke contemplation and insight can be diminished when they lose their connection to the complex ideas and traditions they once represented.
The symbolists believe that explaining something kills it. That's a caution against over-intellectualizing art. What's the inherent tension between intellectual understanding and the visceral experience of art?
The inherent tension lies in the fact that art often operates on an emotional and intuitive level that can be difficult to fully capture through intellectual analysis. Over-intellectualizing can sometimes dissect and categorize a work to the point where its original impact and mystery are lost. The visceral experience of art engages our senses and emotions in a way that purely intellectual understanding may not.
Communications. How wonderful and how sad. That's a concise reflection on the complexities of human connection. What are the inherent joys and sorrows within the act of communication?
The joys lie in the potential for understanding, connection, and shared experience. The sorrows can arise from misinterpretations, failed attempts to convey meaning, and the inherent limitations of language in fully expressing the complexities of human thought and emotion. Communication, while essential for connection, is also a space where misunderstandings and disconnects can occur.
How nice to finally mix fun and art. That's a simple yet important sentiment. What's the value in bringing playfulness and enjoyment into the creative process?
The value lies in fostering a sense of freedom, experimentation, and a release from the pressure of perfection. When art making is approached with a sense of fun, it can lead to more spontaneous and original creations, as well as a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment for the artist. It reminds us that creativity should be an enjoyable exploration.
He reflects on how years pass and influences come and go, hoping the intention remains different and the forms diverse. It's about artistic evolution and the desire for continued growth. What's the importance of maintaining that sense of evolution for an artist?
The importance lies in avoiding stagnation and continually pushing one's creative boundaries. By embracing new influences and experimenting with different forms while staying true to a core intention, an artist can ensure their work remains fresh, relevant, and a reflection of their ongoing development and exploration of the world.
The standard sign against the sunset, only we know what that means, highlights the limitations of transferring personal meaning and the potential for future communication. What does this suggest about the private language of art?
It suggests that art can often contain private meanings and personal references that may not be fully accessible to a wider audience, creating a kind of intimate dialogue between the artist and perhaps a specific viewer or even their future self. While these meanings might not be universally understood, the act of creating and recognizing them can still hold significant personal value and to potentially offer glimpses into the artist's inner world for those who are receptive.
We have the stark imagery of white crystals, white salt, white wing, white bones, dead bird, dead lake, dead sand, dead land. It's a powerful and desolate scene. What feelings or ideas does this kind of stark imagery evoke?
This kind of stark imagery evokes feelings of desolation, loss, and perhaps a sense of warning or ecological concern. The repetition of white against the backdrop of death creates a powerful and unsettling visual, suggesting a world stripped bare and devoid of life. It can prompt reflection on fragility, mortality, and the potential consequences of environmental destruction.
Important reminders for making the best of it. No mistakes, doing the best you can, and mistakes as nature's way of guiding instincts. That's a very forgiving and growth-oriented perspective.
It really is.
What's the value in reframing mistakes in this way?
The value in reframing mistakes as natural learning opportunities is immense. It reduces the fear of failure, encourages experimentation, and allows us to see imperfections not as errors, but as valuable feedback that can guide us towards more effective approaches and deeper understanding. This perspective fosters resilience and a more positive and productive creative process.
He deconstructs pride goeth before a fall into various cause and effect relationships, revealing the complexity of even common proverbs. What's the benefit of this kind of critical examination of seemingly simple wisdom?
The benefit lies in moving beyond a superficial understanding of common wisdom and exploring the nuanced relationships and underlying dynamics at play. By critically examining proverbs, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their complexities and recognize that they are not always universally applicable or straightforward in their meaning. It encourages more thoughtful consideration of cause and effect.
The analogy of two bits of a hologram arguing instead of cooperating to see the bigger picture is a great metaphor for limited perspectives. What's the key takeaway about the importance of seeing the whole?
The key takeaway is that focusing on isolated aspects or individual viewpoints without considering the larger context can lead to conflict and a failure to understand the complete picture. Just as individual fragments of a hologram only make sense when viewed together, our understanding of the world and our interactions with others are enriched by considering multiple perspectives and the interconnectedness of things.
He notes the cyclical pattern of chaos and order, a fundamental aspect of existence. What's the significance of recognizing this constant interplay?
Recognizing this constant interplay is significant because it allows us to accept the inherent dynamism of life. Chaos and order are not mutually exclusive, but rather two sides of the same coin, constantly influencing and shaping each other. Understanding the cyclical pattern can help us navigate change and uncertainty with greater equanimity.
The concept of the hologram, the whole message, and us as interconnected holograms becoming clearer together, that's a very optimistic and unified vision. What does this suggest about our relationship to each other and to a larger reality?
It suggests a vision of interconnectedness and collective evolution. We are not isolated entities, but rather integral parts of a larger whole, and our individual journeys of understanding contribute to a clearer perception of this shared reality. It's an optimistic view that emphasizes the potential for shared growth and a more unified understanding.
Approaching an edge of real time and awaiting the inevitable, that feels like a reflection on the human condition and our relationship with time. What's the underlying sentiment or observation there?
The underlying sentiment is one of being aware of the finite nature of time and the inevitability of change, and perhaps even mortality. There's a sense of anticipation and perhaps a touch of acceptance as we move towards the unknown future. It's a reflection on our shared human experience of living within the constraints of time.
Different perspectives on the universe, finite steady state, higher order, all at once leading to solipsists aren't crazy, they just misunderstand. That's an interesting take on a philosophical concept. What's the core of that misunderstanding?
The core of the misunderstanding likely lies in the solipsist's failure to recognize the interconnectedness and interdependence of all things. While the idea that only one's own mind is sure to exist might seem logically sound, it often overlooks the profound ways in which our experiences are shaped by and interact with the world and the people around us. The misunderstanding, then, is a limited view of reality that doesn't fully grasp this interconnectedness.
Being aware of history means living in the past, present, and future, and our shared human reason, to dream of how it works. That connects our understanding of time with our innate curiosity. What's the driving force behind this human dream?
The driving force is our fundamental human curiosity and our innate desire to understand the nature of reality, our place within it, and the underlying mechanisms that govern the universe. This dream is a manifestation of our intellectual and spiritual longing to make sense of our existence and the world around us, bridging the past, present, and future in our quest for understanding.
Time travel at the speed of enlightenment. That's a poetic way to describe a profound shift in understanding. What's the destination of this kind of time travel?
The destination is a state of deeper understanding and expanded awareness. Enlightenment, in this context, signifies a profound insight that transcends the limitations of ordinary perception and the linear flow of time. This time travel is not a literal journey through moments, but a metaphorical leap to a higher level of comprehension.
The contrasting approaches of the hawk and the snake to navigating their environment illustrate the complexity of the path of least resistance for humans. What makes this path so multifaceted for us?
For humans, the path of least resistance is multifaceted because we're not driven solely by instinct like the hawk and the snake. Our choices are influenced by a complex interplay of emotions, desires, social pressures, long-term goals, and moral considerations. What might seem like the easiest path in the short term might lead to greater difficulties in the long run, making the optimal path a much more nuanced and often consciously chosen one.
The evocative journey. The way back, long silence, melting rocks, infinite space, eternal time, a point of return, a cycle, a beginning and ending, the next step and the next, an action required, a link to the past, a thread of the future, feels like a poetic summary of existence itself.
It really does.
What overarching theme does this resonate with for you?
The overarching theme that resonates is the cyclical and interconnected nature of existence. It encompasses the vastness of time and space, the processes of transformation, melting rocks, the continuous cycle of beginnings and endings, and the sense of our actions being linked to both our past and our future. It's a beautiful and concise depiction of the ongoing journey of life.
Then there are these more enigmatic statements. What was Louis Sullivan doing in the broom closet? And the mention of Irish honor, or some crutches are wooden, some are gold. They leave you pondering their possible meanings. What's the value of these kinds of open-ended remarks within a larger body of work?
The value lies in their ability to spark curiosity and invite personal interpretation. These open-ended remarks act like little koans, prompting us to think beyond the literal and consider multiple possibilities. They add layers of intrigue and allow the viewer or reader to engage with the work on a more personal and reflective level, creating their own connections and meanings.
And the final thought in this section. Futility and provocation at war with one another, not important. Be free dolce far niente. Carefree idleness. It's almost a call for liberation from inner conflict and the pressures of constant striving. What's the core message about finding peace here?
The core message is about recognizing the potential futility of internal conflicts and the pressure to always be productive. By dismissing the war between futility and provocation as not important, it suggests a path to peace through embracing a state of dolce far niente, that carefree idleness that allows for freedom from these internal struggles and the external demands for constant action. It's a call to embrace moments of rest and simply be.
Now let's turn our attention to Bob Camblin's life and artistic journey gleaned from the biographies and reviews we looked at. He was born in Oklahoma in 1928 and had a formal art education, including a Fulbright scholarship to Italy. That sounds like a really formative early experience, exposing him to the art world beyond Oklahoma.
Absolutely. His education at the Kansas City Art Institute provided him with a strong foundation in artistic techniques, and that Fulbright to Italy in the early 1950s was undoubtedly a pivotal experience, immersing him in the rich history and culture of European art.
Yeah, I bet.
As one Time magazine article from that period noted, it was a transformative year for many young American artists going over there.
He then embarked on a teaching career at various universities, spending a significant amount of time in academia sharing his knowledge.
Yes, he held teaching positions at institutions such as the Ringling School of Art in Florida and later at Rice University right here in Houston. However, the biography highlights a significant turning point in 1976,
Right.
when he made the rather radical decision to leave teaching and become a, well, a nomadic artist.
That's a pretty significant shift. Leaving the stability of academia to fully dedicate himself to his art and fund his travels through sales and commissions, that speaks to a deep and unwavering commitment to his creative path.
It really does. And he wasn't just staying put, he journeyed to various places soaking in inspiration from diverse cultures.
Where did he go?
Well, his travels took him to Italy, France, Ireland, Mexico, and even the South Pacific. This period of nomadic existence seems to have been incredibly productive, with his artwork reflecting the diverse landscapes and cultural experiences he encountered. The biography mentions him supporting himself through a combination of direct sales of his work and private commissions.
The book we're drawing from, though, really focuses on those more intimate drawings and musings from 1950 to 1974 works that were never originally intended for public view.
Exactly.
That gives us a really unfiltered and personal glimpse into his inner world and his artistic process during those years.
Precisely. These were spontaneous expressions unburdened by the expectations of the art market or public reception. They offer a direct and honest connection to Camblin's thoughts, emotions, and evolving artistic ideas during a crucial period of his development.
It's often said that his art transcends traditional criticism and commercialism, aiming to speak directly to the soul. That's a pretty ambitious goal for an artist.
It emphasizes the deeply personal and contemplative nature of his work. The idea is that his art resonates on an emotional and intuitive level, bypassing purely intellectual or market-driven considerations to connect with something more profound within the viewer.
Critics who followed his work recognize a distinct artistic evolution, from intricate, almost Bruegel-like drawings to more organic flowing forms. They also noted his fascination with the life cycle, with metamorphosis, and his innovative way of blending drawing and watercolor.
Yes, exactly. Charlotte Moser in Art News, for example, noted that early precision giving way to looser forms. Eleanor Freed in the Houston Post specifically highlighted his recurring interest in themes of metamorphosis and the cycles of nature. And Texas Overview praised his unique approach to integrating drawing and watercolor, creating that luminous quality.
He started his artistic journey in abstract impressionism and later was a pioneer of muchas volantes. Now, for someone unfamiliar, could you briefly describe what muchas volantes is and how it connects with art movements like Dada and surrealism?
Sure. Muchas volantes literally translates to flying flies and refers to those little specks you sometimes see floating in your vision.
Oh, okay. Like floaters.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Camblin developed a technique using dots and dashes to create optical illusions on the canvas, mimicking this visual phenomenon. This approach aligns with Dada's embrace of chance and the absurd, and with surrealism's interest in the subconscious, the irrational, and the exploration of perception.
Right.
It invites a more active and subjective participation from the viewer as their eye tries to make sense of the shimmering, almost hallucinatory imagery.
Collaboration also seems to have been an important aspect of his artistic practice, with notable partnerships like the one with Earl Staley and Joe Tate. They even signed some of their collaborative works as anonymous, emphasizing a collective artistic voice over individual authorship.
Exactly. His collaborations, often under the names B&E Productions with Earl Staley and later involvement with the holding firm, challenged the traditional notion of the solitary artist. The anonymous signatures underscored their belief in a shared creative energy and a desire to move beyond individual ego in their artistic endeavors.
Earl Staley's personal reflections on his friendship with Camblin are so insightful, offering anecdotes about their shared studios, their collaborative projects, Camblin's eventual move away from teaching in Houston, and the lasting impact he had as both a friend and a teacher. It really paints a picture of Camblin as an individual.
Staley's personal account provides a warm and humanizing perspective on Camblin. He speaks of their close bond, their shared artistic explorations, and the profound influence Camblin had on him and others in the Houston art scene. It adds a layer of personal connection to Camblin's artistic legacy.
We also learned that Camblin was a voracious reader, with particular interest in figures like Emerson, the wisdom of the I Ching, and the concise beauty of haiku. He even created artwork that evoked the simplicity and elegance of haiga, a Japanese art form combining haiku with visual elements.
Right.
These literary and philosophical interests clearly shaped his artistic vision.
Oh, undoubtedly. His deep engagement with these diverse sources enriched his thinking and infused his art with layers of meaning and philosophical inquiry. His creation of Heiga-like works demonstrates a direct connection between his literary and visual sensibilities, capturing the essence of a moment in a concise and evocative way.
His early influences, like the grandeur of the Marland Estate and the iconic pioneer woman statue in Ponca City, offer a glimpse into the visual landscape that first sparked his imagination.
Growing up in that environment likely instilled in him an appreciation for both architectural scale and symbolic representation, shaping his early visual vocabulary and his understanding of how art can embody cultural narratives.
And his transformative experiences in Italy, particularly his encounters with the Renaissance masterpieces at the Uffizi Gallery and the more macabre imagery of the Catacombe dei Cappuccini, even those images of mummies seem to have left a powerful and lasting impression on his artistic sensibility.
Those contrasting encounters with both the heights of artistic achievement and the stark reality of mortality clearly provided powerful and enduring imagery that would continue to resonate in his work, influencing his exploration of form, symbolism, and the human condition.
Interestingly, he even directly referenced Botticelli in some of his work, creating pieces like The Birth of Venus as a tribute to KPFT radio. That's such a specific and meaningful way to engage with art history and his own community.
It really is. It shows his ability to synthesize his deep knowledge of art history with his contemporary experiences and personal connections, imbuing iconic imagery with new meaning and relevance.
Despite gaining early recognition in prestigious exhibitions, he also experienced the realities of being a working artist, initially earning a living as a map maker before finding his footing as a teaching artist. That's a common past for many creatives.
Yes, his early career reflects the practical challenges many artists face in balancing their creative aspirations with the need for financial stability. His transition from map making to teaching highlights his resourcefulness and his eventual immersion in the art world.
His feelings of depression while living in Salt Lake City, which he attributed to a perceived lack of appreciation for the arts, ultimately led to his move to Houston, a city that seemed to offer a much more fertile ground for his artistic endeavors.
Right.
That speaks to the importance of finding the right artistic community.
The move to Houston was clearly a crucial turning point, providing him with a more vibrant and supportive artistic environment where his unique vision could be more readily embraced. It underscores the vital role that community and recognition play in an artist's journey.
He had a very distinct vision for how galleries and museums should curate exhibitions, emphasizing the importance of presenting an artist's complete environment without forcing competition or comparison between works. That reveals a thoughtful, curatorial perspective.
His belief in presenting an artist's oeuvre holistically, allowing viewers to immerse themselves in the entirety of their vision, reflects a deep understanding of the creative process and the interconnectedness of an artist's body of work.
He saw faith and good work as stabilizing forces in the art world, and often used the metaphor of muddy water settling and stumbling blocks becoming stepping stones, frequently representing this with jars of water in his paintings. That's a powerful visual metaphor for perseverance and finding clarity.
That metaphor beautifully encapsulates his optimistic outlook and his belief in the transformative power of time and effort. The image of muddy water eventually becoming clear and obstacles being repurposed as aids to progress is a recurring motif that speaks to resilience and inner peace.
His Scarecrow series, inspired by Gunter Grass, served as a potent symbol representing renewal and evolving into myths and legends with themes of metamorphosis. That sounds like a rich and conceptually layered body of work.
The Scarecrow became a central figure in his later work, embodying themes of vulnerability, transformation, and the enduring power of stories and myths to evolve and adapt over time.
He even incorporated text into his later Scarecrow drawings as a kind of disguise or clue, influenced by Tom Wolfe's The Painted Word, which questioned the dominance of verbal interpretation over visual experience. That's a very self-aware commentary on the art world.
His use of text was a deliberate way to play with the relationship between the visual and the verbal, challenging the viewer to engage with the artwork on multiple levels and to question the primacy of language in interpreting art.
Ultimately, his drawings are described as intentionally ambiguous puzzles designed to engage the viewer in exploration and self-discovery, containing both codes and what he called traps.
Right.
That reinforces the interactive and thought-provoking nature of his art.
He consciously created works that required active participation from the viewer, inviting them to unravel the layers of meaning and to arrive at their own interpretations. The traps likely refer to elements that might mislead or challenge initial assumptions, encouraging deeper engagement.
The strangeness and the hidden surprises and mysteries within his paintings reflect a questioning of reality that went beyond the dreamlike quality of surrealism. He wasn't just interested in the subconscious. He seemed to be probing the very nature of perception.
His work often created a sense of unease or the uncanny, prompting viewers to question their assumptions about what is real and to explore the more ambiguous and mysterious aspects of existence.
He even expressed a desire to remake Goya in 20th century terms, and his early works did focus on themes of social protest. That provides important context for his artistic lineage and his engagement with the world around him.
It places him within a tradition of artists who use their work to comment on social and political issues, while also highlighting his ambition to reinterpret historical masters through a contemporary lens.
He moved from creating sketchbook studies to producing large-scale drawings that were intended as finished works in themselves, often incorporating what he called corrections directly into the final piece. That shows a real evolution in his approach to the medium of drawing.
It elevated the status of drawing in his practice, treating it not just as a preparatory step, but as a significant and complete form of artistic expression, embracing imperfections as part of the process.
His work in the 1960s aimed to combine the poetic sensibility of Hugo van der Goes with the emotional intensity of Goya. That's a fascinating synthesis of seemingly disparate artistic influences.
It reveals his deep engagement with art history and his desire to blend different aesthetic and emotional qualities in his own work, creating a unique artistic voice.
And in the 1970s, a key development occurred when he figured out how to translate art's subjective functions into something almost mystical, attempting to evoke specific states of mind and delving into themes of the life cycle and metamorphosis. That marked a significant shift in the focus of his artistic exploration.
This period marked a move towards exploring more internal and metaphysical themes, using his art to evoke inner experiences and to contemplate the transformative processes of life.
His use of recurring imagery like puppets, scarecrows, and skulls encouraged viewers to act as their own Gestalt psychologist, actively participating in the interpretation of his symbols. He really put the onus on the viewer to engage deeply.
He provided a visual vocabulary that invited viewers to draw on their own psychological frameworks and personal associations to find meaning in his work, emphasizing the subjective nature of interpretation.
And in the 1980s, his work often interwove drawings and watercolors, with camouflaged images that required careful and sensitive observation to discover hidden meanings, sometimes revealing themselves only years later. That speaks to the enduring and layered nature of his artistic creations.
This later work demonstrates a continued exploration of visual complexity and hidden narratives, rewarding sustained and attentive viewing, with the potential for new discoveries to emerge over time.
So as we bring it all together, we see these incredible recurring themes that weave through both Bob Camblin's striking artwork and his insightful, often poetic writings. The ever-present reality of impermanence, the fascinating dance between the forces of chaos and order, the profound power of inner reflection, and the boundless realm of imagination, a constant questioning of our perceptions, and that continuous lifelong journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely. Camblin's artistic vision was a truly unique and compelling blend of influences, drawing from Zen philosophy, surrealism, his own deeply personal experiences, and an unwavering engagement with the world around him. It's a rich and multifaceted tapestry of ideas expressed through both image and word.
And that fundamental interactive nature of his work, that invitation for us to actively participate in the creation of meaning, much like the simple act of coloring that central pyramid in his drawing. It all feels so deliberately designed to spark something within the viewer.
He wasn't just presenting finished artworks. He was creating opportunities for a dialogue, an internal conversation between the viewer and the art, prompting personal exploration and insight.
This deep dive into the world of Bob Camblin has been truly illuminating. It feels like his art and his words function almost like Zen koans, those paradoxical riddles that jolt us out of our habitual ways of thinking and nudge us toward a more profound level of contemplation and understanding.
That's a perfect analogy. He challenges our conventional ways of seeing and thinking, inviting us to engage with the world and with ourselves in a more intuitive and experiential way.
It really underscores the value of slowing down, of taking the time to truly engage with art and ideas, as Camblin so clearly did throughout his life. It's in that deliberate engagement that we can often stumble upon those unexpected personal insights and develop a much richer understanding of both ourselves and the complex world we inhabit.
It reminds us to resist the urge for quick, easy answers and to allow ourselves to dwell in the ambiguity and the layers of meaning that artists like Camblin present us with.
So, for our final thought as you continue your day, consider this. How does that dynamic interplay between structure and freedom, or between chaos and order, manifest in the various aspects of your own life and your own creative processes, whatever those may be?
Good question.
Perhaps reflecting on Camblin's pyramid within the wilderness and his multifaceted artistic journey will spark some new insights. We encourage you to seek out more of Bob Camblin's intriguing work, or to delve deeper into some of the philosophical concepts we've touched upon today. It feels like with an artist like Camblin, there's always another layer waiting to be uncovered, another deep dive, just waiting to happen.